Baylor men's tennis has released the spring schedule for the 2024 season, and it goes as follows. And I got like who made the NCAA tournament, what the record was, and everything. So Lamar is the first one, and that actually Abilene Christian is the first one. That's January 13th at noon, and this is Central Time. And Abilene Christian last year was like 14-11 overall. Then they play Lamar that evening. They're like 11-12 on the year, and that's at 6 p.m. Then they have to get a rematch with Arizona State, because last year Arizona State beat Baylor even in another non-conference match after Baylor beat them initially. So, and Arizona State was like a round of 32 team, surprisingly. So then they get to play Arizona, the first of potentially two meetings, and they were a Sweet 16 team last year, Arizona was. And this is definitely before the ITA kickoff weekend, which they will play Tulane first, and that was a team in Tulane that made it NCAAs last year, but like around 64. Then they either play Miami, Florida, or Arizona again. And if they play Miami, Florida, they were 15-10 last year. They missed the NCAAs. But if we play Arizona again, that's once again, like I said, it's a potentially first or two meetings after that first one, and it's on the road. So they're going to be battle tested early with potentially Arizona not just once, but twice. Then they play Jacksonville State on February 3rd at 2 p.m. And the same day they play Nebraska as well at 6 p.m. In Jacksonville State, they were like 13-11 last year, and Nebraska was 13-10 last year. Just to go over that, then they play Tulsa February 11th, though it was a battle last time, but it was at Tulsa, and this year is at home, and Tulsa was like 11-13 last year. Then they get to play USC, who could have gone to the Elite Eight if they didn't lose. The number one singles player didn't lose to Michigan on court one in a tiebreaker. And it's just putting that out there. Of course, at the 6 p.m. from February 12th, there's National Indoor Weekend, but championships. But here's the thing about that: you got to beat both Tulane and potentially the winner of the Arizona Miami Florida match. You have to beat both just to get in. And honestly, if you get in, you could very well play you should play at least 3 matches no matter what. And the team that's hosting is Columbia, even though it's in New York. And it's going to be like a USTA, Billie Jean National Tennis Center. So I'm just pointing that out. If Baylor gets there, they're going to probably play against 3 potential NCAA tournament teams down the line. I just know, and maybe even 4 if they could get to the championship, but that's very hard. Then they play SMU at home February 25th, so a week potentially off, and that's at 1 p.m. And SMU was a round of 64 team last year, I believe. Yeah, they were around 64. Then they play on that same day in a doubleheader against UTGRV, and UTGRV was 7-19 last year. So yeah. Then here's the big one. February 28th, you get to play Ohio State. That made it to the national title match, believe it or not, of last year in the NCAAs. It's on at 6 p.m. Central Time. So really big match right there, to say the least. And last time we played Ohio State, it was at Ohio State, and we got crushed 4-0. But it's at home, and Ohio State's different on the road, especially if it's in outdoors. Then they get to play Illinois March 1st, and it's at Illinois on that at 6 p.m. And there are live stats and live video if you want to check it out. And Illinois was around a 64 team last year, believe it or not, just like we were. So if you don't recall, then they get to play VCU at home. That's March 7th at 6 p.m. And VCU was around a 64 team last year. So I'm just. Then this is the first of two meetings, and they get to play TCU. Like March 10th is a non-conference matchup, 1 p.m. But apparently we're going to also play Cleveland State on the same day at home on March 10th at 6 p.m. And TCU last year was a Final Four team, so we're going to get to play them twice. And Cleveland State was 19-8 last year, so they're not like a pushover. Though it should be a win though. Then March 13th at noon, they play Omaha, but Omaha was like 13-11 last year. Then they get to play at Wake Forest, March 16th. No time on that. Yeah, then Wake Forest was a team that had a down year, according to their standards, and they were like around a 32. And then here comes Big 12 play. TCU's the first match, March 22nd, at home this time and not on the road at 6 p.m. Then we get to play UCF March 24th at 2 p.m. Central Time. And UCF was a team that was 11-12 last year. They couldn't make the NCAA. If you have a losing record, you're not going to get in the NCAA tournament unless you win the conference tournament. But then we get to play Texas Tech, and at home March 28th at 6 p.m. And Texas Tech was around a 64 team last year. Then here, and I know we're gonna play BYU at BYU. The remaining of the matches after the Texas Tech one is on the road. Yeah, first one's BYU March 30th. No time yet, but I will say this: BYU was 6-16 last year. Not to overlook them or anything, but that should be a dub. And that's going to be interesting how UCF and BYU translate to the Big 12 this year. And last year, Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12. We're going to get to play Oklahoma at Oklahoma again, just like a year ago, April 5th at 5 p.m. Central Time. And Oklahoma was a round of 32 team. Just same goes for Oklahoma State, April 7th at 1 p.m. It's going to be. I'm glad that we're not going to have to play against Alex Garcia, who used to be a Baylor, at home again. Because that is a little bit weird, to say the least. But I'm just saying. Then finally we get to play Texas and Austin on their senior day, which they're a loaded roster when you look at Texas. April 13th at 6 p.m. Central Time. Yeah, and Texas was a Final Four team last year, so... Then there's the Big 12 tournament. From April 19th through April 21st. And it's in Stillwater this year. But next year, Baylor's going to have it back. And the NCAA tournament is also going to be played in Stillwater as well. So, it's a good schedule. It's not playing a lot of cupcakes. Yes, there's a few round of 64s in there, but you gotta test yourself, and even like some round of 32s, of course. It's a given in conference they're gonna play everybody. It's a given because the amount of teams in the Big 12 in men's tennis is only 8 of them. So I would have to think it's gonna be like a 1 versus 8 in the Big 12 tournament, then 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6. 4 versus 5, I would have to think. Especially when we know in the past it's just been top 2 seeds get a bye. It's the thing about this. I would have to think that's the case for at least the 8 teams in the Big 12 this year in men's tennis. Yeah. It doesn't say anything about that, but I would have to for right now, but I would have to think that's the way it probably is. But we'll have to wait and see on this. And I do expect this team to improve from last year. Part of the reasons why there was a down year, injuries didn't help, hard schedule, we're really young. I mean, we lost our top half of the lineup and we lost our best player to turn pro. In addition, injuries hurt the team. And there were a few guys that would have been in the lineup last year if they were not cleared. If they were cleared, they would have been in the lineup, both singles and doubles, not just doubles, not just singles, but both. And I'm going to break down this roster later on when the season comes closer. I'm just want to give a heads up on this schedule here. It's a good schedule, and I do expect this team to improve in the win total from last year. And we're going to have to wait and see on some of these matches if they get played, because remember last year we had to add some matches just to get above 500, and there were weather issues, like the USC match got wiped away. I mean, because of it was raining and it was out. They don't have an indoor facility. That's why they canceled it. Yeah, that's partially, and at least down here we don't have to worry about that. I mean, we got indoor courts. So yeah, so anyways, if you like this content, hit like and subscribing. I'll see you guys later. On the road to 600 subscribers. Of course, ultimate goal is 1,000 or more, so I can make money off this. Of course, liking the video, commenting the video really helps YouTube algorithm, so more people can see it. Sharing the video does help as well, so more people can watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It's free, and hit the notification bell as well. And I will put the schedule in the description below so y'all can see it. And I know there are no times yet, but of course, National Indoor Tournament, we're gonna have to wait and see if we even get there first, because it does depend on, you have to beat Tulane and you have to beat the winner of Arizona and Miami, Florida, which I have to think Arizona beats Miami, Florida. But I'm just saying, it's like in a back-to-back format. In a back-to-back format, or one day off in between. But you get the point on that. It really depends on it. And hopefully we kind of rectify some of those losses, like the Oklahoma, especially that one individual tournament. We were up 3-0 and lost from last year to this year. And same thing goes for like Illinois and Wake Forest. And I do think this team is going to improve. It's a matter of how much. And I just going to tell you right off the jump, I don't know about winning the Big 12 this year with Texas in the way in particular. Though second is probably the best, but you never know until these matches are played. So that's it.